The deep woods of the Pacific Northwest hold secrets, mysteries whispered on the wind and carried by the rustling leaves. I thought I knew these forests like the back of my hand. I'd spent decades trekking through them, a wildlife photographer chasing the perfect shot. But one crisp autumn night, the forest decided to show me a secret I never could have imagined, a secret that would change my understanding of the world forever. It started with a storm. Not just any storm, but a violent, sudden squall that seemed to tear the sky apart. The wind howled like a wounded animal, and rain fell in sheets, blurring the world into a watercolor of greens and grays. I was miles from my truck, caught completely off guard. My only option was to find shelter. I scrambled into a shallow cave, a rocky overhang barely big enough to keep me dry. Huddled inside, listening to the symphony of the storm, I resigned myself to a long, cold night. Hours passed. The storm raged, then slowly it began to quiet down. The rain softened to a drizzle, and the wind's howl faded to a whisper. It was in that newfound quiet that I heard a sound that didn't belong. A faint high-pitched cry, like a whimpering puppy, but with a strange, almost human quality to it. It was a sound of pure distress. Every instinct I had as a photographer, as a human being, screamed at me to investigate. I grabbed my flashlight, my heart pounding in my chest, and stepped out of the cave. The air was cold and heavy with the smell of wet earth and pine. I followed the cries, pushing through slick ferns and over fallen logs. The sound grew louder, more desperate. It was coming from a small clearing just ahead. As I broke through the last line of trees, my flashlight beam landed on something that made me freeze in my tracks. There, huddled at the base of a giant redwood, was a baby. But this was no human child. It was covered in thick, dark fur. Its eyes, wide and terrified, glowed in the light. It was small, no bigger than a toddler, but its features were unmistakable. Long arms, broad shoulders. It was a baby Bigfoot, a baby Sasquatch. My mind raced. This was impossible. The stuff of legend, of blurry photos and campfire stories. Yet here it was, real and shivering, and utterly alone. The little creature cried out again, a heartbreaking sob that pierced the silence. It was trembling, not just from fear, but from the biting cold. I could see its breath misting in the air. The storm must have separated it from its mother. My own fear melted away, replaced by a wave of compassion. This wasn't a monster, it was a lost child. I slowly lowered my flashlight, trying not to spook it further. I backed away, keeping my movements slow and deliberate. I returned to my makeshift camp by the cave, my mind a whirlwind of disbelief and concern. I couldn't just leave it there. It wouldn't survive the night. I gathered what dry wood I could find and, with numb fingers, managed to build a small, crackling fire. The warmth was a blessing. Then, with my heart in my throat, I made a decision. I walked back to the clearing, speaking in a low, soothing voice. "It's okay," I whispered, though I knew it couldn't understand my words. "I'm not going to hurt you. I want to help." The baby Bigfoot watched me, its large, dark eyes filled with a mixture of terror and curiosity. I slowly approached, then stopped a few feet away and sat down on the damp ground. I didn't try to touch it. I just sat there, letting it get used to my presence. After what felt like an eternity, its whimpers softened. It took a hesitant step towards me, then another. Carefully, I extended a hand, not to touch, but as a gesture of peace. The little creature sniffled, then shuffled closer, drawn by the faint warmth still radiating from my body. Gently, ever so gently, I scooped it up. It was surprisingly light, and it trembled in my arms. I wrapped it in my spare jacket, a poor substitute for its mother's embrace, but the best I could offer. I carried it back to my fire. The flames danced, casting a warm orange glow on its furry face. As the warmth seeped in, its trembling subsided. It snuggled against my chest, its cries finally quieting to soft, sleepy murmurs. I sat there by the fire, holding a legend in my arms, feeling its tiny heart beat against mine. It was the most surreal and profound moment of my entire life. I wasn't a photographer anymore. I was a protector. Throughout the night, I kept the fire going, adding sticks one by one. The baby Sasquatch slept, occasionally stirring with a soft whimper, and I would just hold it a little tighter, whispering reassurances. I watched its chest rise and fall, marveling at the delicate life I held. All the stories paint these creatures as fearsome giants. But this little one was just a vulnerable baby, lost and scared. Where was its mother? Was she searching? Was she safe? As the first hint of dawn began to paint the eastern sky in shades of grey and lavender, the baby started to stir. It stretched its long arms and let out a soft coo. It seemed to feel safe now, content. But I knew this moment couldn't last. Its mother had to be looking for it, and then I felt it. A change in the air, a deep, resonant stillness that settled over the forest. The birds went silent. A heavy footstep crunched on the forest floor behind me, then another. My blood ran cold. I didn't dare turn around. I could feel a presence, an immense, powerful presence, standing just at the edge of the firelight. I held my breath. The baby in my arms suddenly perked up. It let out a happy little chuffing sound and wriggled, trying to get down. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was it, the mother. Slowly, ever so slowly, I turned my head, and there she was. Standing at the edge of the clearing, silhouetted against the rising sun, was a creature that dwarfed my imagination. She was massive, at least 8 feet tall, covered in the same dark fur as her baby, tinged with silver in the morning light. Her eyes, the same intelligent, dark eyes as her child's, were fixed on me. But there was no anger in her gaze, no menace. There was only a profound, questioning stillness. She looked from me to the baby nestled in my jacket, to the dying embers of the fire that had kept him warm. Her expression was one I recognized from any species, human or animal, the look of a worried mother who has finally found her lost child. I carefully unwrapped the baby from my jacket and gently set him on the ground. He immediately bounded towards his mother, letting out joyful chirps. She knelt down, a movement of surprising grace for her size, and scooped him into her enormous arms, holding him close and nuzzling his head. It was a reunion of pure, unadulterated love. Then she looked back at me. She stood to her full height, her baby clinging to her chest. For a long moment, our eyes met across the clearing, and in that moment, something passed between us. An understanding, a silent acknowledgement. She tilted her head slightly, a gesture that felt undeniably like gratitude. It was a look that said, "You protected my child. Thank you." Without a sound, she turned and, with her baby held securely, melted back into the deep woods. She moved with an impossible silence, disappearing into the shadows as if she were a part of the forest itself. One moment she was there, a giant figure against the dawn, and the next she was gone. I sat there, alone by the dying fire, as the full light of morning filled the forest. The world felt different, bigger, more mysterious and beautiful than I had ever known. I didn't take a single picture. Some moments are too sacred for a lens. They are meant to be held only in the heart. That morning, I didn't just see a legend. I was shown a profound truth that compassion is a universal language, understood even in the deepest, most hidden corners of our world. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the wild. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.